if you really want to change your life, if you really are ready to reclaim yourself within this profession and outside of it, and create some space and some breathability and some ease in your life, then I'm going to walk you through the exact blueprint of how you can do it.
I love how you said this is the blueprint to actually doing that. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Stand Tall Leadership Show. I am here. My name's Stand Tall Steve, as you know, and I'm here with the amazing and wonderful Meg. How you doing today, Meg?
Hey, Steve, I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's it. Yeah, we are doing great. We're excited about this. So now this is a special show, y'all. All right. Now, all season long, it's been Meg and I rocking it out, giving you some great info, great knowledge, talking about some awesome topics as relate to education. But today we have a guest, Meg. We got a guest. We have someone. We're bringing somebody back from season 1 of the Stand Tall Leadership Show. My good friend, Mrs. Kim Strobel. Hey, Kim, how you doing?
I was waiting for you to introduce me as your work wife.
I know, right? I came so close to saying it, right? Because you are, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes, she is. She's like my work wife when it comes to the world of educational speaking. We're always talking. We're bouncing things back and forth off of each other. There are times that when we need to vent, we call each other up, we vent, we laugh, we do all the different things.
Yeah, we're good. We're good at taunting one another. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely it. That is definitely it. Well, hey, the reason why I have you on here this time, coming back to the Stand Tall Leadership Show, is because you have a book out. Man, I'm so excited that this book is out. It is incredible. I've checked it out, looked at it. It is great. And the title of the book is, Kim, what is it?
It's Teach Happy, Small Steps to Big Joy.
All right. Teach Happy, Small Steps to Big Joy. Right. And we all know that is so needed right now, right? This is what's resonating the most with educators and burnout and all those different kinds of things. So when you hear a title like that, I'm going to go to Meg. When you hear that title, what goes through your mind? I mean, what do you think? What kind of goes through your mind at that moment?
Yeah, I was just telling Kim how excited I am to get into this book of hers about being happy. We are so needed. Being a classroom teacher right now in the classroom, I just want to know more. I'm excited to see being happy as an educator. I think more than any time we need this type of reading.
So Kim, why don't you, first of all, before we jump into the book, tell us a little bit about yourself for those people who might not have been around for season 1 for that great episode. Tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time as a 4th grade teacher. So I was 1 grade above you there, Meg, and loved that. Loved having my classroom and walking kids through the school year, 180 days a year. And always had a strong interest in literacy. So I ended up becoming a literacy coach for grades K through 12, which was a great opportunity for me to look at instruction at all levels and see and experience what those classroom experiences were, regardless of the subject or the grade level. So I got a lot of experience there. And then I became a curriculum director. And so I stepped into school leadership. And again, being somebody who was always just immersing herself in professional development and loved everything when it came to curriculum design and implementation. So I did that. And then in 2016, I took this giant leap of faith and decided I was going to launch Strobel Education. And my goal was to to really support and empower teachers. It was hard to make that decision. It was very risky. And Steve, you remember this feeling too. You know, it's like you feel like maybe you're risking your family's financial future. You're getting rid of your every 2-week paycheck and decent insurance and at times, and then trying to see if maybe you can't go out there and make a difference in another way. But gosh, it's the best decision I think I ever made, even though at times it's hard to step away from the four walls of a classroom. For me personally, I do understand that my impact and what that looks like now, and it's so driven by just my internal purpose. And so that's, you know, now I do motivational speaking across the country. My girls go in and deliver a lot of professional development. You might appreciate this, Meg. We're really big on the science of reading right now and very embedded in that work. And so my 2 girls are in schools 15 days from January to May, just supporting teachers in that initiative. Yeah, so we have on-site training. I do the motivational speaking piece and run the back end of the business, and we have online courses, and it's really grown. And let me just tell you, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. Steve would tell you that too, as a business owner. This is not like, you know, oh my gosh, I didn't have any business knowledge. I didn't know exactly what I was doing at all at first. And, you know, that's just part of it. It's, you know, what we teach our students, it's applicable to us as well. You know, we got to take those risks and kind of grow with those changes. And so, yeah, here we are. And I do have to say, I wake up excited to do my job almost every day. And I know what a blessing that is. But my heart is really centered on educators, school leaders, and in-school teachers, and anybody really who works in the walls of a school, of a living and breathing school.
That's it. Wow. Yeah, and you and I have talked a lot about that struggle, that, you know, your own business in the world of educational speaking, and then moving forward in that. But just like you, one of the best decisions I ever made, you know, stepping out and then really making an impact in education in multiple different areas, in multiple different ways. That's just huge. It's just huge. It's fulfilling. Meg, you do the same thing. I know you're still in the classroom, but having that opportunity to get out, to speak, to train, to help other educators, you know, move the needle and just really make it happen. That's huge. That is wonderful. So, but hey, now that we know who you are a little bit, let's talk about this amazing book, Teach Happy. It's like the evolution of Kim Strobel. It really is. It is everything that I know of you and what you talk about, all in a book that it is even more than what you talk about, actually. There's even more. So tell us about the different chapters. What are some of these chapters that you have in the book?
Well, first of all, you know, Steve, I reached out to you to do an endorsement for me. And when I read what you wrote, like, you know, you put words in there like it's soul and science and practicality all woven together. And I was so glad that the book was a reflection of like the work that I've had to do on myself, so to speak. You know, I always tell people I am not the happiness guru. Yes, I call myself the happiness coach, but, you know, I'm a practitioner of happiness and well-being because of my own struggle. And I talked about this in season 1. You know, I suffered from a debilitating anxiety disorder for a huge part of my life that sometimes is still a little bit of part of my life. And I, you know, was very, agoraphobic, you know, struggled to walk to my mailbox, struggled to drive my car to Walmart, struggled to go into the grocery store. Fear drove a huge part of my life. And I think that mental health piece is something that I'm so invested in for our teachers and for our students, because it is something that has constantly been a companion of mine. And so the book is really about this idea of, I'm not telling you that we have to be happy all the time. I can't stand toxic positivity. There's a whole chapter on that, because honestly, I don't think that we mean to do that when we lead our schools, but I do believe, Meg, that you might, you know, even be able to speak to this a little bit, but I think there is this kind of common thread that is kind of dispersed out to teachers, and it's very toxic. And it looks something like this, you know, show up, Meg, and be the best you can be for those kids, because kids deserve the very best. And, you know, I feel like that's true. Those kids do. I want those kids to get the very best of Meg. But the bottom line is, if Meg can't get the best of herself first, for herself or her family or anyone else, she absolutely has nothing she can show up and give to those kids. And so I kind of have reversed that. I really tout the idea is like, show up and be the best for yourself first. And let's back that out and see, what does that look like? Because we got to focus and quit preaching, well-being in schools. And like, let's really put some action and support behind that for teachers. And really, I think that was the purpose of the book. I get on a stage and I get everybody fired up for 60 minutes or so. But the bottom line is they go back to the abyss of their desk. They probably forget 80% of what I said, or 99.9%. And for me, the book is an extension of that says, okay, if you really want to change your life, if you really are ready to reclaim yourself within this profession and outside of it, and create some space and some breathability and some ease in your life, then I'm going to walk you through the exact blueprint of how you can do it. And I'm working on it myself every day. But, understanding that we really do have the power to do that, we just don't know how. And I'm sure you feel that way, Meg, and you can speak to it. It's like, you want off this hamster wheel of life. You are tired of feeling the way you do, so completely exhausted and overwhelmed. But what are you supposed to do different? Is that how you feel, Meg?
There was something that you said in the very beginning, Kim, that said, I go to my job every day. I'm happy. And I think more that teachers want to we want to wake up and be happy to go to our job every single day. And I think you're exactly that. We're supposed to show up and have this personality that's always upbeat and always okay. And we're human and we're not always okay, but we have to put on this face and try to fake it. And the kids, they know you're not okay. They know you're having a hard time. So yeah, what you're saying right now is really resonating with me currently as a classroom teacher. Definitely.
And I love how you said, this is the blueprint to actually doing that. I mean, you know this, but I'm like you. I'm a keynote speaker, inspirational speaker. I get on the stage, man, you're going to feel amazing. But then having something tangible where you can actually go back, take your time, look it through, do some self-reflecting on it, hear your voice in the writing, because that's another thing. When you read this, y'all, you can actually hear Kim talking to you, and then it can help you through that process and give you that blueprint. And the way that I love about it is that it's one of those books that you can go in, you can grab a chapter, work on that. All right, I'm going to come back a little later once I've got that gone. All right, I'm going to grab this chapter, or even a part of a chapter. If you say one statement, work on that a little bit, and then come back and kind of help you move through so that you can teach happy and be happy with yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And, Meg, I have so many people who reach out to me and say, you know what? I'm smiling when I go down the halls. I'm high-fiving my kids. I'm loving on my kids. But I get in my car and I drive home and I've got tears in my eyes and I have nothing left over for my family. I go home and I'm irritable and short-tempered, and then I feel guilty. Then I have mom or dad guilt that comes on, right? Because I'm this stressed out mess who has zero tolerance for my own family. And then I wake up Monday morning and I start the whole darn circus again. But going through our schools, we've got those smiles on our faces and we're all acting like everything's okay. And we're not talking about the hard stuff. And what I tell people is we have to talk about the hard of this profession in order to get to the good of it. If you can't bypass that. And there's a whole chapter in there that talks about how we got to be allowed to feel those emotions. It's okay to feel disheartened at times in this profession, to feel angry at what is expected of us. Those feelings are okay to feel. And I call a spade a spade. I'm not going to sit back here and act like it's all pretty, because it's not. There are some major flaws right now in our system and how and what it's doing to the teachers and the school leaders who operate in those systems. And I don't know that we can ever change the system. I wish I could say, you know what, Meg, I think we're going to finally pull it together in the next 10 years. You're going to get paid what you're finally worth. You're not going to be working all these hours. If we put one more thing on your plate, we're going to take 2 things off. But honestly, I don't think we're going to get there. So I don't even want to focus on that. The purpose of this book is to shift it from what we can't control, that beast. We really can't. But guess what we can control? I can teach you, Meg, to operate in that system in a way that helps you feel better in every other area of your life. That's what I can do, is teach you how to take your power back in the only part that you have that is in your control, which is how you operate in this system.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah. you are just killing it right there. I mean, it hits home so well. All right. How are you feeling? I almost cut you off there, Meg. What were you thinking of? You're about to say something.
Honestly, I'm so excited to dig deeper into this book. But when you say things like you don't have enough left when you get home to your family, I'm a mama of 4. I'm also a speaker. I also teach in the classroom. And you're right. At the end of the day, I don't want to read my kids a book. I have read enough books. I don't have time to answer your questions anymore. I have answered 5 bajillion questions today. And we don't. And to have that blueprint to how to work through some of those things that are just so demanding in our lives, I think that this book is just going to be something that people just are going to grab onto and just keep going back again and again and again.
Yeah, I know one of the chapters that you have in this book is called Radical Wellness. Now, I love this. All right. We're talking about wellness and being good, but when you add that word radical wellness on the front of it, that kind of puts one eyebrow up like, what is this? Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, first of all, why did you choose that title?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I'm giving a keynote on radical wellness on Friday. And the subtitle of that keynote is Radical Wellness, the self-care nobody's talking about. Mm-hmm. And here's what this means. I'm so sick of the word self-care that I just want to puke every time I hear it or anytime I see people tell teachers to practice self-care. Well, okay. Meg, just, you got to practice, it's like, I'm expected to go in and tell, 900 tired, weary faces at the end of the day to go practice some self-care and you'll get your life back. It's like another slam at us. Like, hey, Meg, this is something else you're not doing well. And if you can't figure that out, then I can't help you. And so I think we have to toss that word right out the door because it's grossly misinterpreted. Here's the thing, Meg, a hot lavender bath or a pedicure or telling you to take 5 deep breaths at 2:00 every day is not going to make your job less hard come Monday. Okay. And so I call it radical wellness because it's messy, it's hot, and it's hard. And if we're really going to help you reclaim pieces of your life back, Meg, you're going to have to make some uncomfortable decisions. And that's not going to be easy for you. And I'm going to give you an example of one. In that chapter, I talk about how we can evaluate what are the things that drain you in a day's time. Are there people that drain you? Are there certain tasks that drain you? Does your email drain you because you can't stop checking it when you get home and you're checking that sucker until you go to bed? Okay. And so we have to evaluate, where's my energy going? Because sometimes I have to make hard decisions. And I'm going to give you an example. I have a really sweet friend. We've been friends forever, but she likes to talk on the phone and she wants to talk on the phone every single day. And she wants to talk on the phone during my run. And it ends up being an hour of just like me leaving completely exhausted from this conversation. I don't want to spend my first of my morning taking a run, chit-chatting. I want to have my junky romance novel plugged into my ears as I run the streets of Tell City, And so this was on me. So I'm like, okay, you know what this means? I got to draw a boundary. If you want to send Kim Strobel over the edge, you make her draw a boundary with someone because I am the biggest people pleasing. I can't stand conflict. I don't want you upset, Meg. I'll do whatever it is that you want me to do just to make sure that you don't get your feelings hurt, even if I'm over here dying a slow death. And so I was like, okay, let's ask yourself, like, how often do you want to talk on the phone to this person? Maybe once a month. Honestly, once a month is good. We can text a little bit, but once a month is good. So I had to go to my counselor. And I had to have 2 sessions on how is Kim going to express her desire that she does not want to do this anymore. And I was like, I can't do this, Charlie. I can't do this, Charlie. Like, she's going to be so upset. She's going to be so mad. She's going to, anyways, I finally did it. And it was a slow process, but we chat on the phone for once a month. It's really nice now. And Kim Strobel has her energy reserves back, in the morning again. That wasn't easy to do. This is why radical wellness is hard. It means you're going to start creating boundaries and you're going to stop saying yes to everybody who needs something for you. And teachers are type A, perfectionistic, people pleasers, and we want to say yes to everything. And in the book, I specifically show you, here's how you're going to start drawing some boundaries in your life so that you can free up your energy and free up your space. Meg's like, I need the book right now, Kim Strobel.
No. I gotta go read right this minute. I'm just thinking of all of my educator friends that need to hear this podcast right now because
Right
they
now.
do exactly what you're saying. I, as a veteran teacher, have kind of started to figure out I can say no, I don't have to do that. But there are so many teachers that are doing exactly what you're saying that they almost need permission. They just need Kim Strobel to say, it's okay, you can draw this boundary line and we're going to move forward on it. And you're not going to get it right the first time. This is
And it's
gold.
And you
not
know
going to
what?
feel good at first.
And here we go. This is the thing that Meg and I, we do all the time. We do it from the teacher's perspective and the administrator perspective. Administrators need to read this book because you need to understand, because that's one of those eye openers. Because I get it. Administrators, we live in the world of administrivia, and we forget what it's like sometimes, and we're thinking, oh, we're so connected with the teachers, we understand. No, you don't. No, we don't. I thought that I was really connected with my teachers, and I still got it messed up. You need books, things like this, that kind of put you back into perspective as to where they really are, and understanding, yeah, there's a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just your female teachers, it's your male teachers. They got a lot going on. Everyone, they all do. And I love that radical wellness. I'm going to stop doing self-care. I'm going to start.
That's just like, that makes you feel good for 30 minutes and then that's over. We're talking about like really making big gains in your life. And, Steve, we have like school districts who are buying because I think the book's like $26, but if you buy more than 15, you get it for $15, right? And so, we have a school district who's buying, 850 copies for their book. And then they're like, what, I'm getting a keynote there, but they want their teachers to be able to actually work their way through this book together in their teams throughout the school year.
Imagine
and on our website, you can download an admin study guide that helps you walk your teachers through this. And it's for the admins to apply themselves. I mean, here's one thing about administrators is that research shows they're even more stressed than teachers.
Hello.
And here's what we know is, let's say you take an average 50-hour work week. Well, that produces about 37 hours of useful work. Okay. So 50 hours produces 37 hours of useful work, because let's be honest, we're when our brains are at stress, we're not quite as productive as we think we are, yada, yada, yada. Well, guess what? Let's say that you're like, what? I just need to push it. I just need to work 5 more hours. I can't leave until I have these teacher evaluations done, until I've taken care of these 5 parents who are waiting for me to call. Like, I just got to plug away. I got to put 5 more hours in. Here's what happens. When you get to 55 hours, you lose 7. You've worked an extra 5 hours just so you can lose 7. Now you only have 30 hours of useful work, because the research is so strong that shows that when your brain gets to stressed, Steve, when it gets to neutral, negative, or stressed, here's all that's happening is you're losing productivity by up to 31%. You are 10 times less engaged in your job, and you are 3 times less creative. So what happens is when our brains are constantly triggered at that arousal state, right? Like we're fighting for our lives all day long. It's like Meg said, I forget I think I say it in the book, but the number of decisions a teacher has to make and the questions answered in one day's time is just completely fatiguing itself.
In 1 minute time.
Yeah. And so what happens is we kind of go back to this facade of like, well, I just can't leave until it's done. Like, I just have to keep plowing away. That's just part of the job. And what happens is you end up kind of derailing your whole emotional response system, and you end up losing hours and not showing up as the most productive, engaged human being at your job, which is why I say in the book, when I can teach you specific, simple, little tiny happiness habits that are going to get your brain at positive more times than negative, neutral, or stressed, you better bet your bottom dollar you're going to see a big difference in how you operate throughout the school day.
And and here's the thing, like, I know that there are some administrators, since we're looking on the administrative side, they feel better busy. Like, you say that they're going and going and go, and they're losing productive time, but they're busy, and because they're busy, they feel like that they're doing more.
Yes.
And then we talk about mom and dad guilt, teacher guilt. There's administrator guilt, which is like another level. I mean, you need medication for administrator guilt. So at the administrator guilt level, they're just like, if they end up going, changing that, how are they going to handle that guilt? But from what I understand from you and looking in the book, it is a process. So by the time you get through that process of what the tips and understandings that you provide, that level of guilt is going to be reduced significantly so that they can operate at that level very well. Am I correct?
Yeah, what we're doing is rewiring your brain with the book, because the bottom line is you're going to walk away and feel guilt or feel anxiety that you're not prepared to lead your team the next day or to lead your classroom. But if you're going to wait until you don't feel that, you are never going to make that move. So like with my panic disorder, if I didn't allow myself to feel the fear and still make myself walk in that store over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until I rewired my brain, I would still be locked up in my house for the most part, right? So here's what I tell people. Okay, feel the guilt. Feel guilty that you're going to leave at 4 o'clock. Feel guilty that things are unfinished. Okay, I want you to leave and feel the guilt and do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Feel that feeling and still make the move until you've done that over and over and over and over again, until you've rewired your brain to that does become your new normal. And now you're not feeling so much guilt. That's why it's radical. Once again, it's hard to do, but if you really want to change your life, you got to become a creature of discomfort.
You just hit something with Meg. I know you did. Go ahead, Meg.
Say it again, Kim.
Okay, well, first of all, I have to admit, I stole that phrase from Adam Grant. I just read his book, Hidden Potential, and I'm a big person on making yourself uncomfortable, but he uses the phrase, become a creature of discomfort. And I was like, that just spoke to my soul. So many people, here's what I find. Everybody wants to be happier. Everybody wants to feel better in their life. Everybody wants to eat healthier. But the bottom line is, it's not enough to want it. We can want it all day long. But if you're not putting actions and behaviors behind that, if you're not creating intentional habits in your life, you will simply stay stuck. So I'm tired of people saying, they're not willing to be uncomfortable. And I'm going to tell you what, it's like when I was a 4th grade teacher, we'd always have the caterpillars, right? Every year they'd come in, the caterpillars, and they'd make their little larvae and turn into a butterfly. And I'm going to tell you what, when you sit there for 14 days or whatever, and you watch that dang caterpillar that's trying to become a butterfly, and it's trying to come out of the chrysalis. It's like so painful to watch for 14 days. It's like they're not making any headway, right? And so badly, I would want to take like my little paper clip and just a little slit, just help that little thing just a little bit so that little wing can get out. If you do that, the butterfly will be deformed. It will be born with deformed wings, and it will die because it cannot fly, because the butterfly has to have the productive struggle in order to grow its wings so that it can survive. It's the same thing with us. We have to engage in productive struggle. We preach this to our kids, get gritty, be gritty, do hard things. But as adults, we're over here going, I'm not really willing to, I don't want to stretch myself. Yeah, I don't want to feel that uncomfortableness.
That's it. And it's fun. I always say, hope is not a strategy. Like, you can hope all you want. Hope isn't a strategy. The strategy is getting to work. You can hope that you feel better. You can hope that things get all right. You can hope all those things. And I know, Meg, what do you always say about being uncomfortable? You're always talking about it as well.
Right. And as a classroom teacher, I'm like, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, if in education, that literally is, it should be like one of the requirements of on our contract. Like, are you willing to feel uncomfortable in this moment? Because there are so many things that are thrown at us in education, wherever you're at in that building, that we have to, in order to grow, be uncomfortable with that situation. And how are you going to grow from that? And I think, Kim, your book, it's got these steps to find, like, I'm uncomfortable in this situation. How can I handle this? And I think this is just going to be like a teacher help guide. I think every teacher needs this sitting on their desk. And admin. Teacher,
administrator, aide, paraprofessional, bus driver, cafeteria worker, custodian, everybody. Everyone.
I appreciate you saying that. I think you're right. And I just appreciate that you understand and you both get that, because I mean, obviously, if you're a mom of 4, Meg, and you're running a classroom and you're doing this speaking and all of this other stuff, and we know that Steve Bowler is crazy ambitious and has had to grow his skill set immensely in order to be as successful as he is, you don't get to those levels of opportunity unless you're willing to do that.
Kim, I'm telling you, whenever we get together, it's like this. It's the energy and the electric. And Meg's in here too. It's just like, boom. I'm loving this. This is just wonderful. Hey, so Kim, let's wrap this up. Where can we get the book? Tell us about you, how we can get a hold of you, more of you, and all those things.
Yeah, honestly, the easiest is just to go to 𝙀𝐿𝐐𝐾.com, and you're going to find everything that we do there. And there's going to be a link at the top that says Teach Happy. And that's going to tell you all about the book, and you can download the study guide. And then, of course, I'll give you guys the book link too. You can include it in your show notes.
Excellent. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And if you ever need a speaker trainer in any way, contact Kim, Strobel Education. You can do that as well. All right. Well, hey, I don't know about you, but I got a lot out of this, right? This was just, it reaffirmed so much, as well as clarified some things as well, to really be able to stay consistent and stay in this, you know, and be a happier person. Change your mindset, change the wiring of your brain. I loved it. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming through. Thank you guys for listening to the Stand Tall Leadership Show. And we will check you out later. All right. Thanks a lot.